A tough legal battle for Israel at the International Court of Justice. Its lawyers are attempting to dismiss South African claims Tel Aviv is committing genocide against Palestinians, saying its military is instead acting in self-defense. But the war cabinet of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is feeling the pressure, and international calls for an immediate end to Israel's bombardment of Gaza are on the rise.
The State of Israel will appear before the International Court of Justice at The Hague to dispel South Africa's absurd blood libel.
South Africa is Israel's biggest trading partner on the African continent. But its governing party, the African National Congress, ANC, continues to criticize Israel's occupation of Palestinian territory. In November, South Africa recalled its diplomats from Israel and has since become its staunchest critic.
We think that there is a textbook case of genocide unfolding. We think that the number of people being killed, particularly children, has a significant level of gravity to it, and that in line with ours and Israel's responsibilities as signatories to the Genocide Convention, we have a duty to prevent and punish genocide.
South African lawyers believe they have a strong case at the UN's highest court. They say Israel is either committing genocide or failing to prevent it. The case may drag on for months or years.
Although it will be asked here to investigate the crime of genocide, it's not going to come up with criminal consequences. It's going to come up with consequences such as reparations, apologies, the sorts of things you would expect in a civil case.
Although criminal prosecutions are not expected, South Africa's lawyers hope the ICJ will act quickly because of the extreme and urgent plight of Palestinians in Gaza and order Israel to stop war and allow in aid. Such an order carries weight at the UN, and they hope that will create more pressure among the international community to force Israel into ending its military campaign. After more than 3 months of relentless bombardment and slaughter, many people say they've lost their faith in international institutions. But many countries are supporting South Africa and is hoping this legal case could succeed where politicians have so far failed. Hashim Al-Barra, Al Jazeera.
The Al-Aqsa hospital has been targeted with at least 3 Israeli airstrikes in the past hour. Here is a residential building that has been targeted by the Israeli warplanes today. This is a building in front of the entrance of Al-Aqsa hospital. As you see, this is one of the main gates for Al-Aqsa hospital, and a lot of people are seeking refuge here. And here, as you see, the ambulances of the Ministry of Health have been severely damaged from the airstrike. Here is the hospital. This street is a very busy street where people are walking 24/7 back and forth to the hospital, and not only that, people park their cars here. I remember that every single day we used to park our car over here in this street. As you see, all of the markets in here are damaged. Here, where people normally sell food and people who normally buy stuff, there's a very heartbreaking story where a falafel guy who sells falafel has been affected by a shrapnel and he was killed by it, unfortunately. On the wall, we also see his blood on the falafel ingredients. Dozens of injuries are now in Al-Aqsa hospital, where the hospital is working on a very low capacity. and the doctors are trying to help as much people as possible. We tried to talk to the Palestinian Minister of Health and ask them about the injuries and the killings. They said that they couldn't even count them because the ambulances did not stop transferring the injuries and the killings from this airstrike. This is Hind Al-Khudri for Al Jazeera, Deir al-Balah, Al-Aqsa Hospital, Gaza.
1937, Winston Churchill said of the Palestinians, I quote, "I do not agree that the dog in a manger has the final right to the manger, even though he may have lain there for a very long time. I do not admit that right. I do not admit, for instance, that a great wrong has been done to the Red Indians of America or the black people of Australia. I do not admit that a wrong has been done to these people by the fact that a stronger race, a higher grade race, a more worldly wise race, to put it that way, has come in and taken their place."
If I Must Die by Rifat Alaria, November the 1st, 2023. If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and thinks for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale.
I have a concern about this because a lot of artificial intelligence is neither artificial nor intelligent.
That's my favourite line all morning.
It brings...
Because it's data put in.
Right, so for example, if you put into ChatGPT, you might know that one, do Palestinians deserve to be free? It says, the question of whether Palestinians deserve to be free is a complex and sensitive topic. It involves historical and political and ethical considerations. People have differing opinions on the matter, and the answer depends on individual perspectives and beliefs. Now, what does it say if you put in, do Israelis deserve to be free? It says, yes, like any group of people, Israelis also deserve to live in freedom and security. The right to freedom is a fundamental human right and applies to all individuals and communities.
Yeah, so more than 100 journalists have been killed in Gaza by Israel. Isn't it perhaps contradictory or harmful for the U.S. that defends free speech to keep financing and giving arms to Israel when they're committing these crimes against journalists?
Your question presumes that they are deliberately, maliciously going out to kill journalists, and we've seen no indication that they have done that. We continue to stand by the protection of journalists that are anywhere in the world, certainly covering conflict. Journalists and their jobs and their ability to report needs to be protected by any nation waging war, and we've been very, very consistent on that.
South Africa's filed this 84-page lawsuit against Israel, accusing them of genocide. Israel says that this is blood libel. Does Washington agree? And where does this put Washington and Pretoria in terms of
find
their
this submission meritless, counterproductive, and completely without any basis in fact whatsoever.
Genocide is, of course, a heinous atrocity, one of the most heinous atrocities that any individual can commit. We are not seeing any acts that constitute genocide.
Genocide. Noun. The systematic killing of substantial numbers of people on the basis of their ethnicity, religion, political beliefs, social status, or other particularities.
Thank you for this opportunity to testify before you today.
Populated areas. Stop supporting the genocide and ethnic cleansing of the people of Gaza.
Not in the face of an intensifying strategic competition in the Indo-Pacific and around the world.
If the witness will suspend, and I ask that everyone again respect this hearing, we will suspend until the room is cleared.
Calling for a ceasefire. Shame on you all. I'm an Army colonel. I'm a former
what we're doing.